Hey, what's going on, everybody? So we are getting into a little messing around with some builds with this character. I think I found one that I really like, but I still wanted to experiment with a couple other things first, and then we'll get into some TOT. So yeah, where we be at? We are looking at a guild build. So obviously this isn't guild technically. I don't know. It's kind of a stretch saying that Assault War is, or Alliance War, Assault and Support is a guild, but I feel like technically you could say that it is, because there are people that do nothing but PvP all the time. And so there are people that in PvP are 100% dedicated to a specific guild within that, like Aldmeri Dominion, um, and the other two, I can't remember the names of them. I don't even know if I'm saying them right, but you get what I'm saying. There are guilds, people that are dedicated to running PvP as a specific faction. So guilds, I don't know, you can loosely say that. But I was also like, I haven't really messed with the necrotic orb before. And so I was like, maybe I could try and morph this and see what it might do for me as like a emergency heal type of thing. But I'm running the resto staff with this character, so I don't really have to worry about my healing very often. But yeah, the first thing I would do is a heavy attack. Then I would throw out the cow, or not the caltrops, the trap beast, which will obviously morph. We would eventually morph that into barb trap. Then we have caltrops that we would morph into razor caltrops. Then we have our damaging ability that heals us. So I actually have a build that I like a little bit better, but I wanted this build overall to be a darker build. So it's like, do I necessarily want to run this? Not really, compared to getting a incredibly good heal from Templar's Restoring Light, the Hasty Prayer. So you morph this into Hasty Prayer, it gives you 15% movement speed from that heal. So I really like that. I actually would prefer to run that, because it's a heal and 15% movement speed as soon as I activate it. But this is 30% movement speed, and I would say if I wasn't running the Oaken Soul Ring, then that's the one I would want to go with. So is that what my stream looks like? Is it? Wow, it looks great. Yo, there's no like pixelation at all. I was messing with some settings some more, and yeah, there's some pixelation, but it's not nearly as bad. Hmm. What was the thing we had set? But anyway, we would throw out the heavy attack. As soon as we attack the enemy, they're either going to move away or they're going to move towards you. But the enemies moving toward me that's what the trap would be for. The enemies moving away from me after I threw down the trap, because usually there's a mix. There's not as many enemies that move away from you as there are move towards you in most situations, but there are a couple. So I would use the trap for the enemies moving towards me, and I would use the caltrops for the enemies. What I would do is, okay, heavy attack, trap, and then reposition character to wherever the enemies that are moving away reposition themselves, and then throw the caltrops on top of them. And then hitting an enemy with this, it's an insane amount of damage. It takes 20 seconds to get that insane amount of damage, but it's still a low cost ability. It doesn't cost much. None of these do really, except for this one. But this one is kind of like, I'll only cast this to get out of an area of effect damage that's being cast by an enemy on the ground. I would use this just to get off of that where that's about to be cast down. It'll give me that 30% movement speed to step out of it. However, I just think I found a build that's just way better for dealing with enemies that are moving towards me and away from me. And I'll get to that in a minute. I just wanted to show that the guild build is viable. It is. I feel like it is a viable build. But it's just, I feel like there's many more better options out there. But if you wanted to do a guild build, you could. You might actually get a better build out of running a melee weapon with this, honestly. Because you'll be moving into enemies' faces, dropping the traps down on them, but then also throwing around the caltrops. This is like a guaranteed hit when you're using a melee weapon because you're so close to the enemies that it's much easier to cast on them than if you are a ways away. You got to make sure that as you're casting, that your reticle goes back onto the specific enemy that you want that to cast on. But it's cool, like that whole time you're getting health back while it's damaging them. It's actually really cool. And then this would be my heal, but I have to morph it. I haven't morphed it yet. And then finally barrier. So we cast our heavy attack first. We throw down our trap beast, reposition our character, throw down the caltrops. And then we'll probably be repositioning character again, hitting an enemy with structured entropy to get that going, so then we're getting that healing back while we're damaging and getting healing back from our restoration staff attacks as well. Then we only use this to step out of the area of effect, damaging on the ground. And then we use this as an emergency heal. We throw it out. But I would say that this is probably not nearly as much of a heal that's good for emergencies as the hasty prayer is. Because the hasty prayer, if I cast that, yes, I am slower. I only get 15% movement speed, not 30 from like I do with Race Against Time. But if I do happen to get hit by an area of effect damage ability that's on the ground and I can't step out of it fast enough, I'm going to get a lot of health back from hasty prayer anyway. So it doesn't really matter. But yeah, anyway, the point that I'm making is just talking about hasty prayer alone, just this ability. Yeah, it says it's a lot of magicka, but you won't be using this except for in emergencies and to step out of damage areas. That's the only time you'll be casting that. So I feel like the cost doesn't really matter when it comes to this ability, because this ability is replacing both of these, in my opinion. So I feel like this is a very viable build. I feel like you could do a lot with this, and having that barrier where you and nearby group members with wards that absorb up to 29,103 damage for 30 seconds. That is insane, and I can make it even higher with champion points. But just running this build in PvP, it could be a viable option. This is gonna do a lot for you against anybody moving towards you. This is gonna do a lot for just throwing it down if you're like trying to capture a point or something like that. Hitting an enemy with this, you're getting healing from the structured entropy and from the restoration staff heavy attack, and then using this to run away or move in faster than they would expect. and then also trying to get out of their area of effect damage that they're putting down on the ground. And then I'm just not sure about this ability, whether this should be Necrotic Orb or it should be Bone Shield. But from my experience, the Bone Shield just doesn't do much in PvP. So maybe the Structured Entropy and the Restoration Staff would be enough for healing in PvE. And you could switch this out for the what is it? The Spiked Bone Shield. I really like the Spiked Bone Shield because that is a shield that also damages enemies nearby. But once again, like I said, this build I feel like, so if we went with Spiked Bone Shield instead of Necrotic Orb, which we would use the healing morph of Necrotic Orb, but still, if you ran a melee weapon, I feel like this would be a better... I just feel like the melee weapon would be better for this build than a ranged weapon. You'd be in their face, you'd be able to hit them constantly with the Trap Beast, the Razor, or the Barb Trap, the Razor Caltrops, the Structured Entropy. You'd be able to step away quickly to get out of their whatever they're damaging you with, and you'd be able to cast an emergency shield so that you can recast Structured Entropy or get a Restoration Staff heavy attack off to start regenerating your health if you're missing a lot. This Bone Shield could keep you alive, so casting that in emergencies, casting this to get out of area of effect damage or ground damage. But hitting any enemies with these three abilities, I think, would do a lot for you. These three will do a crazy amount of damage if you go with Barb Trap, Razor Caltrops, and then Structured Entropy for that little bit of healing while it's damaging them. Really good. So I really do, I want to mess around with this. And then finally, from support, I went with Barrier, of course. So, Fighters Guild, we took what will be the Barb Trap. And we can actually take all of these passives now, too. This one being the best one. Your Fighters Guild abilities deal an additional 10% damage. So that's going to make this even more powerful. Right now we have 3,054 bleed damage, an additional 9,160 bleed damage over 20 seconds. Now we have 3,345 and 10,030 bleed damage. And that's just from that. That means that in PvP battlegrounds, that's how much damage that's actually going to be doing, because we don't have a single champion point put in this character yet. As you can see, nothing in champion points. So that's how much damage that ability alone is doing without champion points. That's insane how much damage. And we haven't even morphed it to Barb Trap. And then the Razor Caltrops, it's only 739 physical damage every 1 second and reduce their movement speed by 50%. Yes, it's only 739, but that number, it will go up once we morph it. And what we really want is that movement speed. Reducing their movement speed while they're walking through that is going to help you out significantly, especially when you're trying to you're trying to hit an enemy with the Structured Entropy to get that damage and that healing going. So I feel like this is a very viable build. I wish I had something a little bit better for Oakensoul. Like, without Oakensoul, this is going to be nice. Having that minor force is a really, really good thing. Having that ability to make your critical damage by 10%, having that is really, really good. But we get minor force from having Oakensoul Ring, so we're losing that effectively. Like, it's not important. But activating this ability removes all snares and immobilizations from you and grants immunity to them for 2 seconds. That's really going to help out in PvP. You cast that more often than I would in PvE, because PvE, like I said, it's get out of the area is when I would be casting that. And then the Spiked Bone Shield is an emergency shield. Put it up real quick so you can cast another Structured Entropy and get off a Restoration Staff heavy attack. So it would be this, drop, this, throw, this, throw out, this, cast this to get out of wherever the ground damage is. Cast. If I need an emergency, cast that real quick, and then cast another one of these. So I'm getting 2 heals back at once. Cast this again. But as you can see, my reticle wasn't right on the enemy, so it didn't cast. And that's the issue that I'm kind of having with the structured entry. But I do really like how fast it casts. It doesn't take but just a quick second. So with that being said, the structured entropy and the way that it is, it led me to realize that I have something that's more powerful. It doesn't heal me for as much, but it wipes enemies. It just completely wipes them out. And that was in the Dawn's Wrath, the final ability, Radiant Destruction. The morph here, Radiant Glory, you heal for a percentage of the damage inflicted. It's 18% of the damage inflicted. Now, the playstyle with that is just a little bit different, though. Just a little bit. So, I would go with that, the Radiant Glory, and that would be here on my spammable key instead. Because structured entropy, the reason it's on my spammable is I could hit, it's not limited to one enemy at a time. I can hit this with, I can hit multiple enemies with this. It's not limited to only one. And so the idea was, you know, we have an enemy here, we have an enemy here. I would hit the enemy with this, cast that on them, hit the enemy with this, cast that on them. Now we have 2 going. Now imagine you cast that on like 5 enemies in PvP or 10 enemies in PvE. You have so much health coming back to you that that's what makes that ability really stand out to me. But then this ability, it is an execute, but it's a very, very long execute if you use it normally. And what I mean is, what this says is, it deals up to 480% more damage to enemies below 50% health. What you actually want to do is replace that 50% with 30%. And so instead of casting the whole entire length, which is 1.8 seconds, it's literally instant, just like the structured entropy is when their health is below 30, because it's finishing them off before the entire length of the cast of that ability. And then you're getting 18% of what that damage did back. And so it's kind of like structured entropy in a way, but structured entropy is not your execute ability. It's like a it does do a lot of damage, but it's that damage is over 20 seconds. And then but you're also getting health back from it. So it's a really, really fantastically good ability. But anyway, let me go to Cyrodiil, or not Cyrodiil, Craglorn. This is a harder area. I'm going to go here with absolutely no champion points in my character. And then I'm going to go with the other build that I actually found works the same way, but better, in my opinion. So we're going to travel to the outside over here. There's a place over here that I really like to go to really test my abilities. It's kind of like a middle ground where the enemies are harder, but they're not like weak like normal regular enemies are for the areas. And so we are actually going like over that area too. That's another thing that I really like is I get a 5,000 damage shield just because I have a Psijic Order ability equipped on me. And that comes in handy as well. The guild build is actually really good and really viable. The only thing is, like, with Undaunted, you really could just, do you want an emergency heal or an emergency shield? I've kind of went back and forth with these two. I can't really decide, but I think I'm going to go ahead and run this for now because I do want to upgrade this to get the healing morph of it to see if maybe that's the better option, but I don't think so because of how it works and it floats slowly towards an area. This is instant. We have a damage shield and we can make this damage shield even more powerful. That's why I'm leaning more towards the spike bone shield, but I feel like I should still give this the opportunity. Now, let's keep in mind, this is not morphed. On this character, I have not unlocked the morph of this. I have not unlocked the morph of this. We do have the morph of this and this. We don't have the morph of this. We do have the morph of the spike bone shield, but we're not going to be running that for this test. We'll run it for the second test. And then the third test, I'm going to show you guys the other build that I found to be just a little bit better than the guild build. And then we're going to get into some Tales of Tribute after I do a few tests here. And you can see my character is really slow because I don't have any champion points put in, but for the whole point of this video, I wanted to show absolutely no points. And I'm in Craglorn, and I just want you guys to see how powerful this is. Oh yeah, another thing. Another reason why I'm hitting so hard. We have a bunch of critical chance. We made sure that we were above 50% critical chance. Or critical, spell critical right here. Above 50%, that's what we wanted. That's why we're running Order's Wrath 5 pieces. We get all that critical chance, and we get the increase to critical damage and critical healing. So our structured entropy and our heavy restoration staffs are going to be giving us a little bit more healing just from our armor, which is what we want, especially in PvP battlegrounds where we don't have any champion points. We're going to want that boost to damage and healing. And then Slime Crawl for just a little bit more critical chance. And then Sergeant. The Sergeant is what... The Sergeant armor set, 5 pieces, is super, super important. That is what is making my critical damage so friggin' high. It's ridiculously high. Without champion points, I'm critting around 13k, which is insane, with considering I'm not running any champion points. But then also Oaken Soul Ring, of course. So Oaken Soul Ring with Sergeant's Mail. That's the combination that is making me insanely powerful with my heavy attacks doing so high of a crit damage. It's insane. Like, I went with Order's Wrath, but you really could just go with just about anything you want. You don't necessarily have to. I just like having the spell crit above 50% so that I can... It's a guarantee that I'm going to be critting a lot. That's the reason behind all that. Alright, so start off with the heavy attack, throw down the barb trap, reposition, see where the enemies are going to end up, and then throw out the Razor Caltrops. Cast the Structured Entropy on one of the enemies, at least, and then just keep hitting them with heavy attacks. If I need to cast Barrier or Necrotic Orb, I will, but Necrotic Orb isn't even the morph that I want yet, so I probably won't be using that at all. I'll probably just be using Barrier. And that's another thing, like, the Barrier is going to do a lot of protection, so do I even need the Spiked Bone Shield? If I use the Spiked Bone Shield, then I'd probably switch Barrier out for something else, like giving myself that major force that you get from this. Because you get minor force from Oaken Soul, you don't get major force from Oaken Soul. So that's also an option. If you run the Spiked Bone Shield here, instead of the heal, then you can run aggressive horn for the major force instead of barrier, which I still haven't morphed that yet. So all of this, a lot of these are going to be getting even more powerful. So heavy attack, I'm going to throw that down. I'm going to cast the structured entropy, hit them, structured entropy, hit them, structured entropy, hit them, structured entropy. And then I'm just going to finish them off. And that's how it goes. I didn't even use or feel like I needed to use Stygic Order ability or the Necrotic Orb. Nor did I feel like I needed to use Barrier because I was getting so much health back. Between the Structured Entropy and the Resto Staff Heavy Attack, I was getting so much back. And then because of Sergeant's Mail and Oakensoul Ring, my Restoration Staff Heavy Attacks are hitting way above the amount of damage I would normally be doing. So let's move over here again. Heavy attack. Throw that down. Cast that right there. They didn't really move anywhere. Then I'm going to cast that on them. Break out. Hit them with a heavy attack. Cast that on them. Hit them with a heavy attack. Cast that on them. Heavy attack you. Finish you off. Hit you. Structured entropy. Hit you. Structured entropy. And then just finish them off. And that's it. And I'm still at 100k or 100% health. Didn't have to worry about anything. The next test we'll do is there's a lot of people in this house here. They're all going to be coming all at once. So, heavy attack here. Drop this on the door. Throw that there. They're going to be coming through there. Or not. Structured entropy. Structured entropy. Structured entropy on you. Structured entropy on you. Just keep repeating structured entropy on any enemies that I see that don't have it. And then I'm going to throw these down again. Throw that out again. I didn't mean to throw that twice, but it doesn't matter. And I'm still at 100% health. Because I just kept casting structured entropy over and over and over and over. Threw down the barb trap. Threw out the razor caltrops. Oh, hello. Go ahead and get you. You're probably going to be coming out right here. So we're going to throw that down there. Throw the caltrops there. Cast the structured entropy. Hit you. Cast structured entropy. And we're still at 100% health. Ooh. There's an enemy right here. I'm gonna go ahead and do that. Throw that out. You got stuck on that barb trap because you didn't see me coming. I cast a structured entropy. And just finish them off. Throw razor caltrops again. And granted, the lightning staff would probably wipe these guys out a lot faster than the resto staff. But I have 2 healing abilities going constantly, and the structured entropy is giving me back a crazy amount of health for each enemy that I am casting that on. I have a lot of health coming back to me, and then the restoration staff is healing me even more. So I am consistently and constantly maintaining health coming back to my character. So, do you need the resto staff? Not really. It matches my character and the effects that it does. The red and the little bit of orange. I like how it looks with this character. So you could run lightning staff. You could run a melee weapon and just do the same thing. Just get in their face, hit them with structured entropy, get in their face, hit them with structured entropy. But then you probably could also, because this is magic, this is stamina, you could do a little bit of a hybrid build where you put points into stamina and magicka right here. Also, yeah, this is another thing. I have not put a single point in here either. So no points here, no points in champion points, nothing. And I'm still hitting that hard, and I'm still doing that much damage, and I'm still getting that much healing back. Fantastic. Really good build. A guild build is a really good and really viable build. I really do think so. But yeah, I could put more points into magicka and stamina, completely ignore scaling my health. 24,000 is more than enough with the resto staff and the structured entropy. But then you could go, you know, hybrid melee build where you're in their face and you just adjust from in one enemy's face, in another enemy's face, in another enemy's face, and you could actually hit each one of them by just throwing that down and then throwing that out and then hitting them with the structured entropy in the face, moving on to the next enemy, throwing that down, throwing that out, hitting them with the structured entropy. You could just go from enemy to enemy to enemy. Don't worry about finishing them off. Just hit them with that crazy damage and get the healing going. Because while they're alive, that's when they're healing you with the structured entropy. If they die, then that structured entropy stops. So it's actually more of a benefit to just hit them in the face, move on to the next one, hit them into the face, move on to the next one. It actually is really quite nice. And then we got the big hoss over here. Ugh. See, all the enemies are dead except for that dude. And then we just start over again. Throw that down. Throw these caltrops on top of him. Hit him with the structured entropy. And then just finish him off. But for this guy, since he's so powerful, it would be nice to have an execute for him. And so if you're running melee, instead of because you don't really get an execute from any of these. I was looking through them. I was hoping that maybe there was something that might allow me to kind of use something as an execute, but you don't really have an execute with any of the Alliance War Assault or support. And you don't have an execute with any of the guild abilities, but do you really need one? Not really. I mean, pretty easy to finish them off. It would be a little bit quicker to finish them off with an execute, of course. But that's where the other build comes into play. The actual build that I found to be just a little bit more effective than this build here. So in Atrix Spear, the spear shards, the luminous shards. The synergy grants both magicka and stamina instead of whichever is lowest, reduces cost as the ability ranks up. That is very nice for like group stuff. But the main priority is the luminous shards. Send your spear into the heavens to bring down a shower of divine wrath, dealing 4733 magic damage to enemies in the area, and an additional 366 magic damage every 1 second for 10 seconds. So that sounds weaker than Razor Caltrops, right? It does. It sounds... It is weaker. However, because these two abilities are being replaced by just Hasty Prayer, so this right here, Hasty Prayer, we get this and we put this here, remove that and remove that, because that replaces two of the abilities. Yes, it's not major expedition, it's minor expedition, so you're losing 15% movement speed from not having the Psijic Order ability going, but you're getting back a really, really powerful heal. So both of these are being replaced by just one ability, Hasty Prayer. And we want to run, we're trying to run this. So Luminous Shards and then Blazing Spear increase the damage dealt. So it's only going, okay, so an ally near the spear can activate the Blessed Shard synergy, restoring magicka or stamina, whichever is higher. So we're not going to restore magic and stamina to the group, but does that matter when we're trying to solo? No. And it doesn't really matter if we're restoring magicka and stamina. I feel like most players would be happy to get back whatever they're missing the most of anyway. So we're going to go with Blazing Spear because we're going to get 488 magic damage every 1 second instead of 366, but that's still low. It's still low. It's not going to really be doing that much damage. But we're going to put that on our first thing. This is the first thing we're going to cast. Now, how do we make the magic damage every 1 second more powerful without the champion points? Well, we need another ability. So because this replaced two abilities, that means that we have one free slot, which means that we can do two abilities that have kind of the same thing going on, that will do magic damage over time while laying on the ground. Well, in Restoring Light, this one right here, the Cleansing Ritual, there's a morph called the Ritual of Retribution. While in the area, enemies take 1,184 magic damage every 2 seconds for 20 seconds. So we go with that ability. Now this is going to damage enemies as well. We're going to put this here. And so what we do with this ability is when we throw out the Blazing Spear, like throw it right there, you can see that the spear is in the very middle of that. So what we do is wherever our enemy is that we want to hit with the spear, we go to the very middle of where that spear landed, and then we're going to cast this. So then we have two ground abilities that are damaging over time. So we throw out this, we move to where the very center of this is, and cast this. Now we have two damaging abilities going on wherever we hit the enemy with the spear. And then this, like I said before, it's a fantastic ability. If you want to do a guild build, it is the most important ability out of all of the guild abilities. I love this ability. It's fantastic because you can cast it on as many enemies as you want, and you just have that health coming back from everywhere in all directions. Really, really fantastic. But we want something that hits harder but also heals us. So this Radiant Glory right here, that's where this is going to go. And now you're like, okay, you put that on your spammable key. Why would you do that? Because it's so slow, right? You don't want to cast that and it be like, you know, the full cast time. So how we do that is okay, let's go with this guy right here. we're going to throw out the blazing spear. We're going to run to the center, or walk, it doesn't really matter. Wherever the center of this is, we're going to cast this on the enemy. We're going to go to the center where the spear is in the middle and cast this down so that we know for sure both of these are going to be damaging the enemy that's inside of that. And then we're just going to heavy attack them until their health gets to about 30%. When their health gets that low, it's literally an execute finisher ability that doesn't even cast the whole entire cast time, because it just, boom, like that, they're done. And so, throw this out, go to the center, throw this down. You can hit them with this once if you want, but it's not going to do much. And then I'll just try to finish the enemies off. Throw this down again, throw this down again, hit the enemies with the heavy attack. This guy's getting pretty low, about a little bit more, right there. And you see, it only didn't even cast the whole cast time. It was just, boom, done. And like that was like a full cast time because their health was still a little bit high. But you get what I'm saying. And you're getting a little bit of health back for it. That one, then that one. And it actually took a little bit longer than the guild build. So, okay, what else can we do? Well, we have a fantastic heal ability that regenerates us. We need a couple more damage abilities, something else that we can throw out that will further increase our damage. And like I said before with the Fighters Guild, we love the fact that we get that extra 10% damage from the Fighters Guild, but I'm not going to go with any of the attacks. I'm going to go with the alts. I really don't need to worry about protecting myself with this build. Like I said, I have that incredibly powerful heal that's not only going to heal me, but heal people nearby. So I'm protecting and providing two different synergies to the group. But then I'm, you know, if I'm solo, it's still really, really effective, as you guys saw. I'm providing two synergies to the group. I'm providing a heal for myself and for allies. Both of these are going to damage pretty hard together. Then we're executing them when their health is below 30%, because we don't want to cast that whole 1.8 seconds. We want to get back to casting our heavy attacks on the enemies. And then the hasty prayer, we're going to get a crazy amount of health back. And also because of the Oakensoul ring, we're getting a lot of protection from that as well. And so we don't need an ability that gives us like Major Resolve, for example. Major Resolve would increase our physical and spell resistance by a lot, but we're getting that from the Oakensoul ring. So we don't need an ability that gives us Major Resolve. We already have that going. And so we don't need an ability like, if I wasn't running Oakensoul ring, I would be running Rune Focus. I would want to have that Major Resolve for 20 seconds, increasing physical and spell resistance by 5948. But we're already getting that, so we don't need to run that ability. But if I wasn't running Oakensoul, guarantee you that would be the first ability I would cast. So I would have that Major Resolve going all the time. It would be the very first ability I cast. But I don't need any damaging abilities. Or I don't need any more. I don't need an ability to grant me Major Resolve. So we're going to go with the Fighters Guild. We're going to go with the Dawnbreaker of Smiting, because this thing hits incredibly hard. So it's not a finisher, but you can kind of use it as a way to get closer to finishing off a group of enemies in front of you. We're going to go with that instead of Barrier. And then we're getting that 10% damage, which we could also do this stuff. You generate one ultimate whenever you kill an enemy. That's also nice to have. and then increase your weapon and spell damage by 1%. This is going to go up to 3%. So increase your weapon and spell damage by 3% for each fighter's guild ability slotted. Now we have another 3% damage, and then we have 10% damage bonus on top of the massive amount of damage you're going to be getting from Dawnbreaker of Smiting. And you're going to want to make sure that you hit enemies in front of you with that, because it's like a hit or miss type of thing. You know, if you hit, then great. If you miss, then that's not good. You just wasted an alt. Whereas like most other alts, they don't really work that way, but you have to be kind of precise with this whole build anyway. And then I honestly can't remember what my last ability was that I slotted. I really don't remember, because I feel like this is good enough. I don't need a 5th ability. I mean, technically you could run Repentance from here, the Restoring Aura, but I don't need this ability because of the Oakensoul Ring. If I wasn't running Oakensoul Ring, I would also be running that ability as well. I would definitely prioritize this ability and this ability. But if you're running a guild build, well, never mind. If you're running a guild build and you're not using Oakensoul Ring, then you can run this ability here, because it will give you 3,000 stamina back per corpse on the ground. So the Repentance is going to help you out a lot to get your stamina back if you're running stamina focused, a stamina focused build or something like that. That would be something that you would want to run. And if I'm not running Oakensoul Ring, I'm definitely running Repentance regardless, so I can get that what is it? I'm getting minor fortitude, endurance, and intellect just by having this slotted, and then I can give it to the rest of the group as soon as a corpse is on the ground. And then I'm restoring health to me and my allies, and restoring 3,000 stamina. So I think I might just go with this because it doesn't cost anything. Yeah, I think I'm gonna go with that. Then I can restore some stamina. I'm not going to be using any stamina from my abilities, but I am going to be dodge rolling and stuff, so it's not like it would be a bad thing. And it's another kind of like emergency heal, but not really, you know? It's not as much of an emergency heal as, you know, like this, but it still might help you if there's anything dead on the ground. But therein lies the weakness with that ability too. You have to kind of keep an eye on, is anything dead before you cast that. But, you know, it's not bad, having that little bit of extra health you can get from anything dead on the ground. But PvP Battlegrounds, is this ability viable? I really don't think so. I mean, the enemies don't die often enough for that to be a viable option. But, like I said, I feel like these 4 abilities are good enough, so we could just put that there and it won't cost us anything. Why not? You know? Won't really be using that in PvP, but, like I said, these 4 abilities with the how hard the Resto Staff is hitting, and then getting healing back with the Resto Staff, and then using this to execute enemy players. This is really going to help me out a lot to finish off enemies while we're fighting. A lot of people hate this execute because they're just like, it's too overpowered, I hate it. But a lot of builds in this game, you know, overall I feel like are overpowered, so it's like, eh. But anyway, so we throw this down. Throw this down right by the center. I'm trying to cast the... There we go. Oh, cast on the wrong person. Cast on the wrong person again. There we go. Cast on the wrong person again. That's the weakness with that execute. with structured entropy, it doesn't matter if I cast on them twice or not. It's not really that big of a deal. But yeah, if we are missing any health, we can get it back by doing that. So that's nice. And then if we're missing any stamina from dodge rolling, as you can see, like, you know, we take a lot from just a couple dodge rolls, because the dodge roll, like after the first one, you're gonna be using up a lot more stamina to dodge immediately a second time. So you don't really want to do that, but just in case you do that, if there's anything dead on the ground, you can get that stamina back immediately if you have to dodge more than once within like 4 seconds or something like that. I don't remember exactly how it goes, but and the range for the resto is really cool too. There we go. Now we're showing what it does a little bit better. I didn't mean to hit that. I meant to hit that. And like it's immediate. Boom. Done. And then just go like that if we're missing any health or missing any stamina. Yeah, that seems pretty good. For PvE anyway. I don't know. Necessarily, do you want to run Repentance for PvP? I guess you could, like I said before. I guess you could, because why not? You got the 4 abilities you really want anyway. Boom, immediately dead. But it's harder to do in like lots of groups of enemies. Damn it. And it gives me health back too. This is really nice. No, not that one. Just instant dead. It's a little bit harder to do than the guild build though. The guild build, you don't have to aim, you don't have to redirection your character or anything like that. So I actually would honestly, I'm thinking about running the guild build because it's just a little bit, you don't have an execute, so that kind of sucks. But yeah, I've been like on the fence with it. I feel like this hits a little bit harder, a little bit better if you don't want to do a guild build, you want to do more Templar focused. But I do really like the barrier and how much defense you get with it. And I really like the combination of all of the guild abilities. But with the guild build, you kind of essentially have to ignore, like there's a lot of abilities. You're not going to, well, you don't need these 2 abilities anyway because of the Oaken Soul. That's why I don't have any points in here. But there are some abilities like this one. Increase the duration of your Sunfire, Eclipse, Solar Flare, and Nova abilities by 2 seconds. That's not, I don't know. You have to like really look at these and say, are these important to you or not? Casting a Dawn's Wrath ability while in combat generates 3 ultimate. This effect can occur once every 6 seconds. So you're losing out on that. Casting a Dawn's Wrath ability grants minor sorcery to you and your group for 20 seconds. Increasing your spell damage by 10%. But I don't need minor sorcery, so I'm not. But that's with Oaken Soul, you know. Without Oaken Soul, I would need to cast a Dawn's Wrath ability. And then reduce the health, magicka, stamina, and ultimate costs of your abilities. So I think this one applies anyway. But these three aren't important anymore because I'm not running an ability from Dawn's Wrath. I'm running a guild ability. So, and then your Restoring Light. Increase the healing effects from your Restoring Light abilities, so you're losing that. And in proportion with the severity of the target's wounds, so you're losing that. While standing in your own cleansing ritual, rune focus, or rite of passage area effects, and for up to 4 seconds after leaving them, you gain minor mending. So losing that, but at the same time, you're not if you're running Oaken Soul. So I highly recommend Oaken Soul when you're running a guild build, because then it's like you can ignore most of the passives that you're getting from casting one of these abilities anyway. But overall, it's a lot of fun. I feel like it hits incredibly hard. And yeah, you don't have an execute. But maybe what I'll do is, for like PvP and Battlegrounds, I'll run the Templar build, and then for everything else, I'll run the guild build. Do I? Oh, yeah, that's right. I wanted to upgrade that because the barrier is going to be here. And it was... What am I missing? Oh, the Razor Caltrops, that's right. So for Assault, Caltrops. For support, it was Barrier. So, yeah. Then we are starting with a heavy attack. Throw that down, throw that out. Cast that again. Throw the Structured Entropy on you. And they just die really fast. Faster than the Templar build. I just feel like the Templar build is just a little bit better because of the execute and the double damage from 2 area abilities that will also give the group synergies. But, you know, it's up to you. People don't usually use synergies, actually, so... But if I'm gonna run the guild build, I would want to put some points into magicka and stamina. So I'd probably do 10 points magicka, 10 points stamina. But do I even need to put any points into... So both of these are running off of stamina. That's high amount of magicka. That's not bad magicka. That's not bad magicka either. And we can sustain the magicka with our Resto Staff heavy attack. So... we definitely kill a little bit faster than the other build. But the other build, I don't know. Honestly, they feel on par with each other, if I'm being honest. They feel like they're pretty much the same. And we managed to retain all of our health. Yeah, I'm really on the fence with what builds I want to run, but yeah, I would say the guild build is very viable.
Let's make this quick. Who's next?
And then I haven't even put the points into like Stygic Order. Well, I think I did actually with Stygic Order and Fighters Guild, but not with Mages Guild. So the Mages Guild, let's look just in case. Yeah, we put all points there. Stygic Order made sure to have the concentrated barrier, so I can use that in PvP. And then while you're casting or channeling a Stygic Order ability, you reduce your damage taken by 30%. This helps with how I'm using this ability. I'm only casting this to step out of an area of effect damage area. So while I'm casting that to get out of there, just for like a half a second maybe, but still, when I cast that, I'm going to be protected when that effect goes off if I'm still standing in it when I'm trying to step out. So, pretty nice. And then Mages Guild. We could probably take all of these. Reduce the magicka and health cost of your Mages Guild abilities by 8%. So it's already low. 2565. Now it's 2214. That's pretty nice. Increase the duration of your Mages Guild abilities by 10%. Now we have 20%. So it's going to last 24 seconds now. And then increase your magicka and magicka recovery by 1% for each. So we'll get a total of 3% magicka recovery from that. Oh, it's only 2. Huh. Okay, well, doesn't matter. Increase your magicka and magic recovery by 2% for each Mage's Guild ability slotted. So current bonus 2%. And then we don't need this. This grants Empower. We already have Empower from the Oaken Soul Ring, but if you're not running the Oaken Soul Ring, it would be really a good idea to take this. But I'm not going to, because I already have Empower. But yeah, having 10, it would be 10 total seconds of Empower coming from Structured Entropy from the guild build. However, there's an Empower ability here. It's kind of like, you only get 10 seconds of this, but you can cast this on multiple enemies, so keep that in mind. You can just keep going and going and going with the Empower, as long as you keep casting this on enemies like I've been. So it doesn't matter, the length doesn't matter, but if you're not planning on doing something like that, you should probably go with this one here. Solar Barrage. This is a 22-second cast time, so that means that you're going to gain that Empower that you get from that for 22 seconds. So you won't have to cast that again for 22 seconds. You'll have the Empower for that entire length of time. But, like I said, you're casting Structured Entropy on essentially every enemy, or as many as you can. And so you'll just keep getting that Empower going over and over and over and over. So, it doesn't really matter. Casting a Mage's Guild ability grants you Empower, increasing the damage of your heavy attacks. It would be a total of 10 seconds, 70% increase to damage. And it would have to be a heavy attack, but you're weaving heavy attacks with the rest of the staff. So, definitely you want to take that if you don't have Oaken Soul, but since we already have Oaken Soul Ring, we are getting Empowered, it's not important. But yeah, we have some really good defensive things going on here. We have some increases to damage going on here with generating 3 ultimate whenever I kill something. So I can cast Barrier a lot. And then Undaunted, we have Undaunted Command and Undaunted Metal, which hopefully we'll get this to 10 eventually, and we can get both of these. So activating a synergy restores 2% of your max health, stamina, and magicka. So that's really, really nice. I activate, in group activities, I activate a synergy. I'm going to get that. And then Undaunted Metal. It's only, the current bonus is only 2%, but it's still 2%. increase your max health. If you have light armor, heavy armor, and medium armor all on your character at once, increases your max health, stamina, and magic recovery by 1% per type of armor. So you would get a total of 3% increase there, which doesn't seem like much, but it over time it will make a difference. But on my character, I only have light, heavy, 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 heavy. Now, if I could get a medium slime crawl, then maybe that would be nice. But I don't know. We'll look into it. One piece of medium, one piece of light, and then I'll have a total of 3%. Or you could do medium shoulders. Make sure you do medium shoulders, whatever. But yeah, this build feels pretty good. It takes about the same amount of time. It feels like it's a little bit quicker, but it's not by much. It's not by much. And I don't ever feel like I have to cast this to get out of the area. And I don't feel like I need this at all. It's just kind of there. They're both kind of there just for like emergencies, really. Those 3 abilities from the other guilds. Well, from Fighters Guild, Mages Guild, and Assault. I feel like that's good enough. And I can do that too. I can cast that on multiple enemies and attract them over here and just hit them all with heavy attacks. Yeah, feels like about the same amount of time. Oh, nice, a counterfeit pardon edict. Well, it looks like we're out of time already, and I really am sorry about the very, very short YouTube stream. But yesterday, me and Sarah went out for a date day type of thing. We haven't been able to do that in like 4 years, so I wasn't able to get the video recorded for Patreon, the sketch tutorial for Patreon, until this morning. And so that's why the YouTube stream was very late. But yeah, really appreciate those of you who have stopped in. And I'll be back in about 20 minutes on Twitch. So if you guys want to join me over there, you're more than welcome to, but if not, I'll be back again here Thursday morning at the normal time this time, and so then we can actually get into some more stuff rather than talking about builds. But yeah, for those of you who I see over there, I appreciate it. For those of you who don't use Twitch, I'll see you guys on Thursday, alright? Laters.